Assets disposal or the disposal of fixed assets. Now, as an accounting learner, before you solve the disposal of fixed assets, you need to understand the steps first. And here's what you accounting learners do. You jump straight into numbers, you memorize entries, and you end up losing more marks on the disposal of fixed assets. Now, in this lesson, I'm not going to focus on exam questions yet. No. Instead, I'm going to share and explain with you the steps that you need to follow from the beginning, during the disposal, and at the end. And once you understand this process, then this topic of asset disposal will be simple. And the video part 2, where I'm going to be sharing with you the steps with examples, will also be easier for you. So are you ready? Now, let's get straight to it. Let's build your accounting foundation. Now, when it comes to the disposal of fixed assets, as an accounting learner, this is what you need to understand. And that is, circumstances will arise in every enterprise where the non-current assets will be sold or scrapped, and certain adjustments will have to be made for this transaction, as the original cost of the assets must no longer reflect in the non-current assets account, nor may its accumulated depreciation charge remain in the accumulated depreciation account. Are you with me? Now, here are the certain situations that we are going to encounter, and those situations are 4, right? We are going to experience 4 situations when we dispose of the assets, and that is number 1, we will experience the sale of an asset either for cash or on credit. Number 2, we will experience the sale of an asset by trading it in on a new asset which is being purchased. And number 3, we will experience a situation whereby we have a loss of an asset due to theft, or maybe an asset is being destroyed by a fire. And situation number 4, we will experience the scrapping of an asset which can no longer be used by the enterprise, or in other words, the business, right? Now, we are going to explain this 4 steps, right? I'm going to share with you exactly what is going on. But before I dive deep into this conversation of disposing an asset, there are certain principles that we have to establish and explain or demystify certain terms. In other words, there are terms that you need to understand very well with regards to assets disposal or the disposal of assets. And those terms are as follows. Number 1, we will start by explaining the proceeds on the disposal of assets, right? So you probably heard of these words whereby they talk about the proceed, but you still don't understand what the proceed is. Now, here's the thing. The proceed simply means an amount of money that we receive when we sell or when we dispose of the non-current assets, right? That's it. Proceed refers to an amount of money that we receive when we dispose of an asset, right? Now, this proceed may be in a form of, let me say 3 situations. And the number 1, the proceed may be in a form of, if the asset is sold or disposed of for cash, it will be cash received, and if it is sold on credit, it will be an amount receivable. That is also considered as a proceed. And number 2, the proceed may be in a form of a trade-in value. What is a trade-in value? That is the value placed on an asset which is being sold, right? Or which is being traded in for a new asset which is being purchased. So the trade-in value is a value that we place on a current assets that we are selling for the new assets that we are being purchasing or we buy, right? So that is the proceed as well. And the proceed may also be in a form of an insurance claim, right? For in case if an asset has been stolen, or we lost the assets due to being destroyed by fire. And that will lead to an insurance claim, right? So that means the proceed will be in a form of three. Number one, cash received or an amount receivable if it is sold on credit. Number two, a trade in value. And number three, loss due to fire that leads to insurance. So when insurance wants to pay for the assets that has been lost, we call that amount that we receive the proceed, right? The trade in value, for example, we say, okay, this asset we're going to sell it at 200,000, so or 50,000 or 40,000. That is a proceed, or the cash that we receive when we sell the asset. I hope you understand the term right now. So this is the first thing that you need to understand as an accounting learner. Understand the terms and what they mean, right? That is the first term. Now, the second term that you need to understand very, very well, it's carrying value. Now, what is a carrying value? In normal cases in accounting, the carrying values are normally calculated, right? Now, but how do you calculate the carrying value? Now, the carrying value, to get to it, you take the original cost of the asset, right? You subtract or you minus the accumulated depreciation charge, and it gives you the carrying value. So the formula is cost price less accumulated depreciation, and it gives you the carrying value. For example, let's say the original cost of an asset is 100,000, right? We bought that non-current asset at 100,000. And then when we dispose of, during the disposal of that asset, then the accumulated depreciation charge is provided as 60,000, right? So now what is our carrying value? So that means it's 100,000 less 60,000. Then the carrying value is going to be 40,000. Now, what exactly the word carrying value means to you as an accounting learner? Now, think of the carrying value as the new worth of an asset. How much is the asset worth? If we bought this asset at 100,000 and we use it along or throughout the year, remember, as we use the asset, it gets diminished, right? Or it reduces in value, if I can put it that way. It reduces in value due to wear and tears. Every time when we use an asset, it loses value. So if we decide to sell that asset after we've used it for 6 months or a year, are we going to sell the same asset at a value of 100,000, the original cost price? No, right? We'll have to estimate exactly how much the asset's worth right now. And that's where it leads us to carrying value. Now, the carrying value is simply how much the asset worth after it has been depreciated. It has been depreciated. Are you with me? So that's what you need to understand. The carrying value is how much the asset worth. Or you can define it in certain way. There is no fixed definition, right? I'm trying to make you understand what a carrying value is, right? There is no fixed definition for this, but I just want you to understand that it means this asset now, it's worth 40,000, no more 100,000, because it has been depreciated, right? That is the carrying value, and the meaning of a carrying value, it's how much it's worth if we were to sell it, right? The carrying value. Now, another term that you need to understand is term number 3, right? The third term is term number 3, known as proceed on the disposal or proceed on sale of an asset, right? We explained the proceed, right? On the disposal of asset. We explained the carrying value, right? And now we are going to talk about the profit, right? The profit on the disposal of an asset. Now, as I have explained to you, that the proceeds, it's how much we receive when we sell. That is not a profit, right? Most learners get confused with regards to the profit and the proceed. But with regards to the profit on the disposal of assets, how do we know if the business or the enterprise has made a profit on sale or on the disposal of assets? Here's the thing. And that is, if an asset is sold or disposed of for more than its carrying value, then the profit has been made on the sale or the disposal of an asset. However, if a non-current asset is disposed of for less than its carrying value, then we have made a loss. Make sense? You want me to repeat? Let me repeat. I am saying, if an asset is sold for more than its carrying value, then we have made a profit on the disposal of asset. But if the asset is sold for less than its carrying value after we calculated the carrying value, then we have made a loss, right? For example, the original cost of the asset is 100,000 and the depreciation provided for is 60,000. The carrying value is 40,000. And we sell an asset and say, okay, this asset is worth 45,000. Remember, we sold it for more than the carrying value. The carrying value is 40,000. Then we've made a profit of 5,000. If we decided to sell the asset at 40,000, then there is no profit and there is no loss, right? But if we decide that, okay, we are selling the assets, we make some negotiation with the buyer, and the buyer said, no, I cannot buy this vehicle at such a price, right? I cannot afford that amount of money. I can only afford to buy this vehicle at an amount of 35. And we make a deal and we sell the vehicle at 35,000. Now here's the problem. We have made a loss of 5,000. Are you with me? Now, in this case, you now understand the terms, right? You understand the terms very well, which is the proceed on the disposal, the carrying value, and the profit on the disposal of assets. Now, here's the thing. Whichever way the enterprise disposes of its non-current assets, then the disposal of the assets must be recorded by means of journal entries in the general journal before posted to the ledger account. And this disposal will take place by following the 5 steps. And those 5 steps are as follows. Number 1, you calculate the depreciation from the beginning of the financial year until the disposal date. Number 2, you remove the original cost of the assets, right, from the non-current assets account. And number 3, you remove the accumulated depreciation from the accumulated depreciation account. Number 4, you're going to record the proceeds if there is any proceed. And number 5, you calculate whether you have made a profit or loss. Are you with me? Now, those are the 5 steps that you will need to follow, right? You will need to follow in order to dispose of the assets. Now, I'm going to explain these steps, right, in more details. I gave you 5, but I'm going to explain them in more details and show you how you do that, how you calculate the depreciation, how you remove the cost price, how you remove the accumulated depreciation, how you record the proceed, and as well as how you check if you've made a profit or loss. And let's begin with step number 1. Now, the step number 1, you need to calculate and record the depreciation from the beginning of the year up until the disposal date, right? Now, here's the thing. Normally, the depreciation is calculated at the end of the financial year. However, if the asset is disposed of or it is sold during the financial period, then the disposal must be calculated from the beginning up until the disposal date, up until the date where we sell the asset, right? Now, when we're calculating the depreciation, the number of months in use, all right, must be taken into account. So when we calculated the depreciation on assets, this is what we do. We look at how many months we have used that asset, okay? And the calculation of number of months in use must be calculated in full, right? In full. For example, if an asset it is sold or disposed of on the 1st, on the 4th, or on the 30th of August, then the number of calculations of month in use must not include August. Reason being, August is not a full month. Are you with me? It must not include August. It should only be from the beginning of the financial year up until July, the 30th of July, right? Reason being, it was sold off on the 1st of August, the 4th, or the 30th. However, if the asset is disposed of on the 31st of August, then the calculations of the number of months in use, it must include August, as it has been explained. August is a full month. I want you to be clear, because most of you accounting learner, you make mistake when you calculate the number of months in use. You include the ones if it's on the 1st, the 4th, or the 30th, right? Now, this is how you calculate the depreciation number 1. And the journal entry will have to be made whereby you debit the depreciation with the amount that you got, and then you credit the accumulated depreciation, right? That's step number 1. Now, step number 2, remove the original cost of the assets from the books. Now, in this case, the original cost of the assets must be removed from the books, right? Immediately, it must be removed. Now, this amount must be transferred to a new account known as the assets disposal account. When we remove the original cost, we transfer it to an account known as assets disposal account. And this is done by debiting the assets disposal account, right, and crediting the appropriate or the relevant assets with the cost price. That's how you remove it, right? That's step number 2. Step number 3, remove the accumulated depreciation from the accumulated depreciation account. And this is done by debiting the accumulated depreciation and crediting the assets disposal account. That's step number 3. Then step number 4, you record the proceeds if there is any proceed. Now, in this case, the proceeds on the disposal must be recorded by means of journal entry as well. For example, if we sell or we dispose of an asset for cash, then that proceed must be recorded, right? The proceed must be recorded by means of journal entry, and this is done by debiting the bank account if it is sold for cash and crediting assets disposal account, right? Now, if it is sold on credit, then the assets disposal account will be credited, and the corresponding debit will be to the debtors control, right? That's what needs to be done as we record the disposal of the asset. The same principle will apply if the proceeds are from the insurance claim, right? The assets disposal account will be credited and the amount from the insurance will be debited, right? That's step number 4. Step number 5, you calculate the profit or loss on the disposal of assets. Now, here's the thing. The profit or loss on the disposal of assets, it will be calculated in the assets disposal account after all the steps have been recorded in the assets disposal account, right? That's when you will be calculating whether you made a profit or loss, right? Now, remember, to get the profit or loss, if the asset is sold for more than its carrying value, then we've made a profit. And if it is sold for less than its carrying value, then you have made a loss. Are you with me? So those are the 5 steps that you need to understand as an accounting learner in order to solve the disposal of non-current assets. Are you with me? Now, up to this far, if you understand these steps clearly, then you are already halfway through to mastering this topic. But here's the important part. Understanding the steps alone is not enough in exam. Reason being, in your exam, you are not going to be required or asked to explain theory. Instead, you will be required to apply that theory using figures. Now, as this is the case, in the next lessons, I am going to share with you, we are going to take the exact same step that I've just discussed with you and apply them in an exam question style, right? So that you understand what is happening. Now, if you want to know exactly how the marks are awarded on the disposal of assets, make sure you don't miss next lesson or video part 2, where I explain everything using example, because right now I'm explaining to you the steps that you need to know first. Are you with me? Now, make sure you watch the full video. Look above there. There might be a video that popping out. And then once it pop up, you click on that video. It's video part 2 about the assets disposal. This is video part 1. Now, until next time, if this video has helped you understand the steps with regards to the procedure that you need to follow when doing the assets disposal, Comment on the comment section below and let me know how this video has helped you. Also, like the video, subscribe and share it with your classmates. By so doing, you're giving me a motivation to make more videos, as you have already requested that I must make more videos. Until next time, me, the relentless Monama Humphrey the man, humble and intelligent King Hannah Boy, the RMH himself, and the assets disposal assassin. I will see you in the upcoming next video, and make sure you see me in that next video. Until next time, have a wonderful accounting journey.